How would you describe your music? And I'm keeping in mind that it's always a little uncomfortable to ask an artist about his or her work. But your music has been described by some as roadhouse rowdy, psychobilly, unique mixture of British rock, but with a lot of other genres. Does that about say it?
Yeah, that says it in a broad sense, yes. It's, some people have said we live in the world, I mean, never near as good as these guys were, but sort of Tom Petty-ish, but where that comes from is it's kids who grew up in the same era who loved the British invasion, who also loved the Southern California music of the late 60s.
To whom were you listening? The Beatles, the Byrds, Johnny Cash? To whom were you listening?
My thing was Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, was all the Sun Records stuff. Right. Early Charlie Rich, that kind of thing. And when the Beatles came along and I saw them on Ed Sullivan, like everybody else, it changed my life. And we all wanted to be the Beatles. The problem was that every band in town wanted to be the Beatles, so we decided my first band, we were going to be the Dave Clark Five. So we played a lot of Dave Clark Five songs. And then I branched out in a way that it set me on a path of listening to almost everything. My favorite band of all time next to the Beatles is the Allman Brothers. That I can say.
Well, let's talk about that. Favorite band of all time, excepting the Beatles, the Allman Brothers. Why is that?
They did something that nobody else ever did, which was you got these Southern guys who are playing something that people automatically say, oh, they were Southern rock, and they so weren't. They had elements of country, mainly coming from Dickie Betts, blues coming from Dwayne and Greg, a couple of guys who could be jazz drummers, and all of them had jazz in them. They had progressive rock, jazz, country, soul, blues. The Allman Brothers' influences and their abilities, better than anybody ever, all came together to make a unique sound that nobody else had.
Well, now, in addition to your acting work, you're on the road, you're touring, you have a new album coming out. Is that what you're trying to do? Ever trying to create something absolutely and without question unique, as the Allman Brothers did?
Absolutely. When I saw the Beatles on TV the first time, I knew that I knew it then, and maybe not consciously. Later I came to know it consciously. But when the Beatles came out, I knew that the bar had been set so high for my generation that we'd never reach it. And when I heard the Allman Brothers, I knew I'd never be able to do that. So, I think when I saw Spencer Tracy and Humphrey Bogart and Frederick March, one of my favorite actors of all time, and Montgomery Clift, I think when I saw movies finally, because I came to them late, maybe it was because of maturity, I don't know what, but I looked at them and watched what they did, and I thought, I'm never going to be that either. I can never be that great, but I think I can get close. I knew I could never get close to the Beatles or the Allman Brothers, and that's what I'm still trying to do. As an actor, a writer, a musician, any of it. Reaching for something that I know I'll never achieve.
That's your polar star, your navigational star.
Yeah. And like I said, I know I'll never do it. I wanted to be, from an early age, something that I always knew I would never be. And I think it's what keeps me doing it.
I've written down here in listening to some of your later music you're playing now, a lot of it has sadness, sorrow, reflection, regret. Is that by design?
It just comes out that way. We have songs that sound as happy as Hanky Panky by Tommy James and the Shondells, and if you read the lyrics, it's like more like a Eugene O'Neill play. So, and that was something that we noticed early on, is that we had a lot of heavy lyrics done to, more pop rock music, which is maybe sets us apart a little bit, where the darker stuff doesn't necessarily musically sound dark, but lyrically it can be sometimes. But yeah, I find songwriting to be a place where I get out a lot of my. Well, it's a cathartic thing for me sometimes, and
More than acting?
I think they both are. And you know, one of the most commonly asked questions is if you had to choose one. You know, that's what they always ask you. But I never looked at it that way. I always looked at it like if you're an artist of any type, it's the same vision, the same mindset for whatever you're doing. So, you know, for the detractors, for the naysayers in terms of me as a musician, I always say, well, you know, after I wrote Sling Blade, I didn't get a lobotomy and then go make a record. It's the same guy writing,
right.
And so you write I'm a genius when I write Sling Blade, and then it's like, oh, this guy, he's not a musician or whatever. Same thing, you know. But with mainstream critics, I mean, the people who write for newspapers or the television, you know, critics or whatever like that, we've done very well. I mean, we've been a respected band, and we had a #1 record on Americana radio and all that. It's really mostly just people on the internet who don't like you for whatever reason.
Frank Zappa, whom a lot of people don't know. I want to talk about, you've said before, he was a great influence on you.
Yes.
First of all, for folks who don't know who he was, you tell me and tell our audience who Frank Zappa was and why he made such an impression on you.
Well, Frank Zappa, who started a band called the Mothers of Invention, who were originally just going to be called the Mothers, but the record label thought that wasn't cool. He was known as an avant-garde musician, but what he really was, he was an all-around creative guy, but came from a world that believed in art and the absurd being able to coexist.
Right.
He was an amazing composer and guitar player, and he actually showed me that you could use dark humor in music, that was okay.
Now I want to move to what you read as life developed. What authors made some impression on you? Was there William Faulkner? I'm keeping in mind that, you know, your signature is Southern.
Yes.
Erskine Caldwell, Flannery O'Connor. Any of those you read coming up or listening to your mother read them?
Absolutely. My guy was Erskine Caldwell. And Flannery O'Connor I came to after Caldwell, but I would have to say the top two were Erskine Caldwell and Steinbeck. I was a big fan of Tobacco Road and all that, you know.
Well, Tobacco Road, of course, the novel that made Erskine Caldwell.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I want to follow up on that. What is it you think in your upbringing within yourself that attracted you? You talk about Erskine Caldwell, John Steinbeck. They read about people at or near the bottom. They read about the underside of society, the, if you will, the Dickensian side of society. What is there in your background that drew you to that?
I was raised with a crazy little English-Irish high school coach dad who didn't put up with much. And so, you know, between the poverty and the not always such a great relationship, you know, with the dad, it was a little tough. And I guess I like to read things about people who had similar experiences, you know.